Knowledge is an intensely variable and personal event, something acquired via a combination of one's senses, visual, auditory, tactile, olfactory, gustatory, assembled according to a personal schema, and then made public, expressed typically by the same sensory modalities utilized in the initial acquisition. Lou Lloyd Zanini, 1988, page 64, after Elliot Eisner. Comprehensive judgment-oriented approach. In the time before formal evaluation, there was the comprehensive judgment-oriented approach. This approach judges the quality of the program or product. Fitzpatrick, Sanders, Werther, 2010. This branch of evaluation is not a single type of evaluation, but it is an umbrella that encompasses the evaluation branches of expertise-oriented and consumer-oriented. While these two fields have different viewpoints on who and how the evaluation is to be conducted, they have evaluators place value on or judge the quality of what is to be evaluated. These methods, while still in use today and in the public and private sectors, are not as widespread in formal evaluations, but they have laid key foundations on which those present evaluations are built. Expertise-oriented approach. Evaluations in this branch are carried out by an evaluator or group of evaluators who possess the knowledge, skills, and abilities to be able to evaluate the program or product in question. While they may conduct interviews, collect data, and read resources to collect information, the evaluation comes down solely to their professional judgment. Elliot Eisner, discussed more fully in the sections to follow, is a key player in the branch of this field. Some examples are doctoral examinations administered by a committee, proposal review panels, reviews of staff performance, peer reviews of articles submitted to professional journals, and accreditation. Consumer-oriented evaluation approach. Evaluations in this branch are carried out by experts at judging the worth of something, not experts in the field to be found worthy. In order to start this type of evaluation, the criteria deemed the most worthy to the consumer is compiled. This list is created by studying the product, not from preconceived ideas. Fitzpatrick, Sanders, Werther, 2010. Then standards are created through comparisons with other similar products from the same or competitor companies. Michael Scriven, the leader in this branch, came up with a list of 13 steps required to carry out evaluations in this branch. His list requires evaluators to find out about need, market, field trials, consumer trials, critical comparisons, long-term study, side effects, process, causation, statistical significance, educational significance, cost effectiveness, and extended support. Fitzpatrick, Sanders, Werther, 2010. Some examples are consumer reports, product testing, beta testing, government public service reports.
Elliot Eisner is a professor of art and education at the Stanford University School of Education. His research interests include arts education, curriculum reform, qualitative research methods, among others. He grew up in Chicago and from an early age had his mind set on becoming a professional artist. This was an ambition that was supported by his parents. While studying art at the University of Chicago, he began working with students in urban Chicago schools, and his focus shifted from commercial art to art education. From here, he went on to receive 2 master's degrees in art and education and a PhD from the University of Chicago. While obtaining his degrees, he worked as a high school art teacher, a university art instructor, and various other academic jobs before he landed at Stanford, where he has been ever since. With his art background, Eisner became worried that the current model of education in America was unbalanced and placed art on a lesser level of importance. He was particularly worried that the cognitive skills behind art were not fostered, and with Howard Gardner, developed cognitive theories of learning that were grounded in the arts. Another aspect of Eisner's view of education was the idea that education itself is an artistic activity. From the perspective of education as art, Eisner argued that this would allow us to move beyond the technical know-how and instructive reliance, and instead open our minds to more creative ways of knowing and being. His history of art appreciation and artistic exploration, his focus on the arts in schools, and his view of education as a distinct art led him to create his view of evaluation, which is centered on the artistic ideas of connoisseurship and criticism.
Eisner's model. Eisner's model for education evaluation of connoisseurship and criticism is essentially a pairing of 2 sensibilities drawn from the arts, He draws from the arts intentionally because he believes that the features of classroom life are not likely to be explained or controlled by behavioral laws, and that the major contribution of evaluation to be a heightened awareness of the qualities of life so that teachers and students can become more intelligent within it. Eisner, 1976, page 140. The pairing of connoisseurship and criticism for Eisner is essential. In broadest terms, connoisseurship is defined by Eisner as the art of appreciation. However, he is careful to make the distinction that appreciation does not exclusively mean to like something, but rather consisting of recognizing and appreciating the qualities of a particular. It is essentially a private act not requiring public judgment or a public description of those qualities. Eisner, 2002, page 215. Criticism is the public act. It is the art of disclosing the qualities or events or objects that the connoisseurship perceives. Eisner, 2002, page 219. Eisner suggests that one can be a connoisseur without being a critic, but that one cannot engage in authentic critical activities without being a connoisseur. Eisner and connoisseurship. Eisner frequently relates connoisseurship to wine connoisseurship. Eisner, 1976, 1998, and 2002. He notes that for the wine connoisseur, it is not enough simply to be able to distinguish between a red and a white, or even between a variety of whites. Being a connoisseur means being able to make fine-grained discriminations among complex and subtle qualities, of which we are evaluating. Eisner, 1998, page 63. Eisner describes this ability as epistemic seeing, or acquiring knowledge through sight, although he goes on to comment that he means sight in a much broader sense that encapsulates all sensory experiences, and goes on to discuss both primary epistemic seeing, awareness of the particulars, and secondary epistemic seeing, awareness of the particulars as part of a larger system or set. Once seen, connoisseurship requires the appropriate application of criteria to the instance, and within the field of education, such criteria are far more complex than evaluating a wine. Eisner, 1998, page 68 to 70. Eisner identifies 5 dimensions of educational connoisseurship that contribute to what he refers to as the ecology of schooling. Eisner, 1998, page 72. Each of these dimensions can be examined from the perspective of connoisseurship and be useful as dimensions to be considered in the greater educational evaluation. The intentional dimension. The intentional dimension deals with goals or aims that are formulated for the school or classroom. Eisner, 1998, page 73. These are the goals that are explicit, publicized in the classroom or community, like system goals or school aims, or explicit in the practices taking place in the classroom. These intentions can be specific or general, and may come from explicit goals of the teacher, the school, or even the district or system. However, given the number of individuals or systems at play, it is not uncommon for there to be tensions between these intentions on different levels. Eisner suggests that there are a number of ways to think about these intentions, including to what extent they are achieved and to what extent they are of value. Eisner, 1998, page 73 to 74. The structural dimension. The structural dimension refers to the organizational structures of the school, such as how the time in the day is broken up into chunks, the graded level system, or the organizational layout of the school or classroom. As Eisner suggests, unlike the topics that students studies, which can change within days or weeks, the school's organizational structure is encountered daily for years. As such, these structures can have profound effects on the way that learning and teaching is encountered. An educational connoisseur would look at how and to what extent these structures achieve the goals or virtues they seek. Eisner, 1998, page 74. The curricular dimension. The curricular dimension focuses upon the quality of the curriculum content and the goals and the activities employed to engage the students in it. Eisner, 1998, page 75. The connoisseur might look at how current the content is, how relevant it is to the discipline, and how well it is being interpreted by the teacher and the students. On the other side of the coin, Eisner also suggests that the curricular dimension also looks at how the curriculum is being engaged with by the students in terms of higher-order thinking, engaging tasks, applicability, and relevance to their lives. Are the curriculum studies ranked? Do the 3 R's rank higher than the arts and phys eds? And how is that ranking communicated through grading practices or formal evaluations? Are children engaging individually with the curriculum, cooperatively, or as complex systems? Each of these provides insight for the connoisseur into the curricular dimension. The pedagogical dimension. The pedagogical dimension is one of the most complex of the dimensions in educational connoisseurship. It looks at how the teacher mediates the curriculum for his or her students. It is based on the idea that each teacher teaches in very different ways, and even the same teacher in a different context or with different students will take up their art in a variety of ways, and that comparisons to an ideal or a single approach are unreasonable. Instead, Eisner suggests that if we take a leaf from the arts and apply it, what we can learn from them to the study of teaching, we would expect excellence in teaching as an art to be of many kinds. That is, we would expect to find excellence rooted in the different genres of teaching. Eisner, 1998, page 78. Eisner also suggested that the same would be true for genres of performance like lecturing, dialogue, or discussion. It is the role of the connoisseur to recognize the pervasive qualities of teaching as they are displayed in some form and a judgment of how the teaching might be enhanced. Eisner, 1998, page 79. The evaluative dimension. The evaluative dimension looks at the practices within a school or a classroom or a system for assessment and evaluation. An example of this is when and how students are tested on curricular knowledge. Testing times, formats, practices, and procedures all become part of this one aspect of this dimension. However, evaluations occur everywhere. When teachers listen to children read, when children hand in what they've written, when students respond to teachers' questions, and so forth. Eisner, 1998, page 81. Evaluation practices inform about what is important and what is not, what counts and what is neglected, and as a result, this dimension is of critical importance in educational connoisseurship. Eisner would suggest that to be a connoisseur in any of these, let alone all of these dimensions, requires significant expertise and a deep understanding of a variety of classroom contexts, practices, curriculum, structures, social and historical contexts, and intentions. And as Eisner stipulates, Eisner 2002, page 219, this significant expertise and understanding is essential prior to engaging in the educational criticism that is the other half of his dynamic evaluation model.
Eisner and criticism. Criticism is essentially the process of enabling others to see the qualities of something. As Eisner says, effective criticism functions as the midwife to perception. It helps it come into being and then later refines it and helps it to become more acute. In an educational context, this relates to the collective values, experiences, stories, and embodied histories of the entire profession. It is our sharing of knowledge. It consists of three major dimensions. The descriptive dimension. The first element in Eisner's criticism model of evaluation is the first step that an art critic would take in evaluating a work, describe the current state. As Eisner has explained, this should be sharp and descriptive detail. Like in art criticism, language and figurative speech are used as emphasis while describing the aesthetic dimension of the program. During this process, an evaluator may look at elements such as the number and type of questions in a class, the discussion time, and the impression of the class on the students within. All of these create a general aesthetic picture of what the program looks and feels like. The interpretive dimension. In the next portion of the evaluation, the evaluator takes their description and attempts to understand the meaning and deeper significance to the program as a whole. In this phase, the evaluator is drawing on multiple theories of knowing, various viewpoints, and a variety of models to interpret the activities in the educational environment. From the point of view of the evaluator, in this dimension, there should be a developed sense of theoretical knowledge and a wide series of criteria. The evaluative dimension. The final dimension of educational criticism is the evaluative dimension. Here, the first two dimensions are merged into a final evaluation, where the significance of the description and the effects of the interpretation are evaluated. As with connoisseurship, the private practice of evaluation, educational criticism also takes on an evaluative dimension. During this stage, an educational criteria is necessary to judge the experience, and this is where the expertise of connoisseur becomes essential, in Eisner's opinion, to the process. Through these three steps, a strong qualitative evaluation can produce an evaluation that encompasses and embodies a large spectrum of possibilities and interpretations from diverse perspectives.